In today's video, we're going to visit the historic Poole Forge in Narvon, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. This is actually a property that in 1775 was started, so it's quite old, right before our Declaration of Independence. This is actually, we want to visit this place at some point, but Colleen, who has submitted a number of the viewers submitted videos, submitted this trip that she made graciously. And so thank you, Colleen, for the pictures and for the information that you've given me to make this video. So thank you once again. So at some point, like I said, we do want to visit this. This is along the Conestoga River. It was actually the second of three forges along the Conestoga River in Narvon Township. I believe that's named after a place in Britain. And it's the fourth forge that was constructed in Lancaster County. And sort of like the story with a lot of these forges is there was a lot of interrelationships between the owners of these forges, because it was sort of, I guess, you could say a society thing. They would all sort of hang out and then marry within. So you'd have this group own this forge, and they married into this family would had that forge, and then eventually everything would sort of come together. And that's sort of what happened here. In 1775, James Old, he wound up buying the property, and he was married to the daughter of an ironmaster, Gabriel Davies. His wife's name was Margaretta. And then eventually the property was bought by Cyrus Jacobs, who was married to Old's daughter, Margaretta, in 1799. He also owned the Spring Grove Forge, and he was one of the wealthiest iron makers in the area. A unique individual thing about this property is Ann Coleman, which we'll have a video at some point on the Colemans. They were really one of the richest families in America, and they were iron masters as well. Ann Coleman started a romance and was introduced to James Buchanan, our 15th president. And it was really a tragic story. It was one of those things where he wasn't good enough, father got involved, and eventually something really bad happened, which we'll go into. Anyways, so they operated this until, I think, 1836. They lived there. I guess one of the family still lived there till 1850, but basically at that point, this form of the iron production had really fallen out of favor and was no longer profitable. So a lot of these forges, it was in that time period they started to really, just fall apart, and they were done. So this was a good illustration of what happened in the late 18th and early 19th century in what was considered an iron forge plantation. At one time, there was about 38 buildings on the grounds, and this is a slightly smaller forge. Union Forge, which we talked about, was 1,000 acres. This was about 472 acres, but it basically was just like its own village, if you will, and they call it plantation, where they had everything that you would need, from worker housing to blacksmith shops, carpentry shops. Everything you would need for that business would be on that land. They said there are two twin race courses for the two water wheels to move the 400-pound forge hammers, and there is a difference between like iron furnaces and iron forges. Forges are what actually forged the iron. Furnaces are what made the iron out of the iron ore. The Iron Master's Mansion dominates the north hillside. It's an L shape. It's a really impressive property, and that was probably the first building. I think they said the oldest part of that building is around 1779. But there are quite a few buildings that are still exist on that property, including a really, really cool covered bridge, which is called the Poole Forge Covered Bridge. This was placed on the National Registry of Historic Places in 1993. Because it's an excellent representation of what's left there, of what these complexes would have looked like in the 18th and early 19th century. Cornwall Iron Furnace, and I believe Cliff has visited several times Hopewell Iron Furnace. Those are some of the very last ones that exist that obviously they're not there in their entirety anymore, but there's a great deal there to see yet. And this is another example. Once again, quite a few buildings had been there before, and there's not a whole lot left. There's a well, there's the Iron Master's Mansion. I believe there is, I forget what other ones there were there, but there's another 3 or 4 buildings that are still exist there. So it's a very cool place to visit. So once again, thank you to Colleen. This is a place we will visit in person at some point, say in spring or summer, so we can see it in person. And thank you once again, everybody. And with that, we're going to end this video, and we will see you all about town. Hey, so just one little thing to note, as a historical note, I think I have this correct. This township is named Carnarvon Township. I assume because a lot of things over here in the colonies were named after places in England, like whether it was towns or if it were townships especially. But Carnarvon or Carnarvon is actually Lord Carnarvon, probably the way you pronounce it. If I have it off, I'm sorry. But he was actually, I believe, the money behind the Egypt when they were looking for through those tombs and they found King Tut. And he was the one, like the whole weird thing happened where I guess it was some kind of mold spores or something were in there, which he already had health issues, which is part of the reason he was in Egypt because of the drier climate and stuff like that. But Lord Carnarvon, so I would assume that would be have named after that. But once again, we will do a live video there at some point. It's the same thing, like I want to go to Conrad Weiser, take you around the property just to see the old buildings and just the cool statues and things like that. I'd like to take you to this as well. So once again, I will say thank you to Colleen. It was really cool for her to send this whole folder of pictures from that trip, and we can also visit the cool covered bridge there as well. But excuse me, it is a really neat place. The pictures look awesome. I have a couple more videos that right now I'm going to do from Colleen, maybe do another couple hometown heroines. The reason being is right now here in Pennsylvania we have, I guess on Friday it was a little warmer in the morning, and then it was the rain, it got colder. The next 2 days are pretty brutal, so a lot of stuff froze over, so I don't really want to be out driving, and I also don't want to fall and tempt fate again. Just starting to feel better, don't need to do something stupid and hurt myself. So, but anyways, it was fun making this video. It was fun doing the research, checking that out. And once again, thank you, Colleen, for the viewer submitted video of Poole Forge, which is on the National Registry of Historic Places, and the Poole Forge covered bridge. Really, really cool place. Fun to do this video, and we'll see you all about town.